So in this video, we're going to calculate relative z-scores, okay? In the previous video, we were dealing with students from the same class, and we were calculating z-scores for their specific test scores, okay? In this video, we've got two students, John and Samantha, who were in different classes, okay? They took a test, and we want to calculate their z-scores so we can compare their relative z-scores, okay? Relative to the test that they took, okay? So, John first, we'll deal with John first. He received a 75 on a test, okay? The class mean for that test was 73.2, and the standard deviation for that test was 4.5, okay? So for John, I'm using my z formula here. My x value is going to be 75, my mean is 73.2, and my standard deviation is 4.5, okay? So I want to plug these three values into my z-score formula here, and that's going to give me John's z-score for his test, okay? So we plug those values in. So this is the z-score for John, 75 minus 73.2 divided by 4.5, which simplifies to 1.8 over 4.5, which gives John a z-score of 0.4, okay? Now let's work Samantha differently because she took a different test, okay? So we want to calculate her z-score. So Samantha had a 68 on her test. The mean for her test was a 65, and the standard deviation was a 3.9, okay? So let's plug those values into the z-score formula. So Samantha's z-score is going to be her value minus the mean divided by the standard deviation, which simplifies to 3.6 over 3.9, which equates to a z-score of 0.92, okay? Now, in the past, before you started learning this stuff, you would have said, well, John scored a 75 and Samantha scored a 68.6, so it's obviously John did better on the test than Samantha did, okay? But relative to the test they took, okay, the test Samantha took was harder. The mean was significantly lower, it's 8.2 points lower, okay? So we would think of her test as being harder relative to John's test, okay? So we can look at the z-scores and we can compare these. John's z-score was 0.4, Samantha's z-score was 0.92. So relative to the test that they took, okay, relative to their respective classes, Samantha had the better test score because her z-score was higher. She was significantly higher above the mean on her test than John was on his test, okay? So this is one way for us to compare things that may have previously been incomparable, okay? So let's use the z-scores here to relatively compare these scores, okay?